Hello and welcome back to my channel. It's Dinosaur Week this week. Why? Because I decided to have Dinosaur Week and I'm planning on making a video per day, getting them filmed, edited and uploaded all in a single day. It's going to be quite a big deal for me. Normally it takes me 1,000 words just to clear my throat, but this time I'm going to have to keep it short and sweet. So let's get cracking. The Valley of Gwangi is a 1969 cowboy dinosaur western adventure produced by Charles H. Schneer and Ray Harryhausen during their prolific partnership of the 1950s, 60s, 70s and early 80s. They made a lot of dinosaur films together and they were very, very good. I grew up loving dinosaur films as a kid and Ray Harryhausen's work was some of the best available. In those days, before CGI had been invented, dinosaurs were primarily stop motion creatures and they were clunky, but I didn't mind. I didn't know any better and they had a charm that just captured my childish imagination. The Valley of Gwangi was fraught with complications and difficulties right from its earliest days. Originally conceived by Wallace O'Brien, creator of King Kong and Mighty Joe Young, he never really got the project off the ground, although he did manage to create one or two model dioramas that never actually got used. After his death, Ray Harryhausen bought the rights from Wallace O'Brien's widow and finally got the project up and running with his longtime partner Charles H. Schneer. And although Schneer described Gwangi as probably the least of the movies Ray and I made together, I can't entirely agree with that statement. I love it. I think it's a really good film. For starters, it has fabulous production values. Set in Mexico at the turn of the 20th century, it has hundreds of extras costumed in Victorian garb, milling around in the Mexican streets, and horses, and there's a large parade with a brass band and an elephant. It's a big movie. It feels big. It feels like it had money spent on it. That elephant, by the way, although real in the opening scenes of the film, is later replaced for the finale of the movie by a Ray Harryhausen stop-motion animated puppet, because it needed to fight a T-Rex, and you can't do that with a real elephant. Being that Gwangi is essentially a western with dinosaurs in it, Cowboys versus Dinosaurs, as it would undoubtedly be titled today, this film is something of a novelty. It's original, and that's one of the main reasons that I love it so much. The first 45 minutes of the film is essentially character introduction, and it really takes its time with this. We're introduced to Tuck, an American rodeo star who's in Mexico looking for his lost love. Tuck is played by James Franciscus, who's kind of a Charlton Heston, Richard Chamberlain love child, and his love, TJ, is played by Gia Golan, an Israeli actress whose accent was so strong that she had to be dubbed with an American voice. Tuck arrives at the rodeo just in time to witness TJ riding her horse up a flight of stairs to a 40-foot platform from which she and the horse jump into a large bucket of water. This is the kind of rodeo/circus entertainment that the peasants enjoyed at the turn of the century in Mexico, apparently. In addition to Tuck and TJ, we're introduced to Professor Bromley, a British paleontologist played with tongue-in-cheek by veteran British actor Lawrence Naismith. And rounding out the cast we have the Gypsies, Mexican Gypsies, depicted with racist stereotypes typical of the era in which the film was made. The leader of the Gypsies, Tia Zorina, is a blind mystic portrayed by Freda Jackson, veteran British actress who would later go on to play a blind witch in Clash of the Titans, also for Harryhausen and Schneer. When through the course of events TJ and Tuck encounter a prehistoric miniature horse running around near the rodeo, they decide to include it in the act, but the local gypsies have other ideas. It's interesting to note that the Gypsies in this film are very much the villains, whereas nowadays they would be the heroes of the piece. They are respectful of the local wildlife, they know that there are dinosaurs and other prehistoric creatures living in a nearby valley, and they want to keep them safe. They break into the rodeo in the middle of the night, steal the prehistoric miniature horse, and set it free. They're kind of the good guys, at least in my opinion they're the good guys. In the movie, they're evil, villainous, troublemaking gypsies. All those wicked local gypsies, they're troublemakers. They do not want the cowboys exploiting and caging the local wildlife. The gypsies revere the animals, whereas the cowboys just want to exploit them and use them as props for profit. So TJ and Tuck, along with the professor, a small boy and a group of rodeo cowboys, set off in pursuit of the escaped horse, planning to recapture it and include it in their show. The horse leads them a merry dance through the desert until they eventually arrive at a rocky escarpment with a crack in it, and when they squeeze through the crack, it takes them to a secret hidden valley on the other side, and this is the Valley of Gwangi. Gwangi, by the way, is the name the local gypsies have given to the T-Rex who lives in the valley. We are now 45 minutes into the film and the action finally begins. Very quickly upon arriving in the valley, the cowboys are set upon by a large purple pterodactyl. I don't think it's supposed to be purple, it just looks purple, and that's kind of cool. You don't see purple pterodactyls every day. The pterodactyl proceeds to attack the cowboys, of course, and it's a rather well-staged attack, involving a Harryhausen stop-motion animated puppet, and also, briefly, a full-scale live-action animatronic pterodactyl. You don't see these in a lot of dinosaur films of the era. And additionally, the attack involves the boy being picked up by the pterodactyl and flown through the air quite a lot, and the boy is on wires. Quite often in this sort of scene you would instantly cut to a stop motion animated double for the human actor, but in this case they use the real human actor. The boy is on wires flying around in the valley with a stop motion animated pterodactyl on top of him, and they only cut to a stop-motion animated version of the boy once he gets to a certain height. This makes the scene more realistic, more enjoyable, raises the production values of the whole thing, and just makes it feel a lot slicker and more professional. And immediately after meeting the pterodactyl, we're introduced to some of the other dinosaur inhabitants of the valley. These dinosaurs like to fight. They like to fight each other, and they particularly like to fight cowboys, at least in this film. It's a cowboy movie with dinosaurs. Remember? Cowboys versus dinosaurs. Inevitably, of course, they wind up catching Gwangi the T-Rex and dragging him back to the circus rodeo to perform for the baying mob in scenes lifted wholesale from King Kong. Predictably enough, Gwangi escapes amid screaming and stampeding extras and runs rampant through the streets of Mexico, arriving eventually at a large church for his final showdown. Overall, this is an unusual and mostly successful movie, a bizarre mashup that lends originality and production values to an otherwise fairly predictable genre. Well worth a watch, and thus concludes the first episode of Dinosaur Week. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, drop me a comment, and I will see you next time. See you later.